Welcome to Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus. We're not too happy this week. They lost the game. They lost the quarterback. But one thing they haven't lost is a chance for the playoff. And for the next 30 minutes, we'll tell you why. We'll be back in a moment.
I'm at the swing joint telling people that Geico's been offering savings for over 75 years. That's longer than the buffalo wing's been around.
Dozen wings.
And did you know that Geico offers motorcycle insurance? Oh, my lips are burning. No, my lips are actually burning.
Geico. Over 75 years of savings and service. See how much you could save at geico.com.
It's too hot. Oh, this is too hot, mate.
Going into this week, we're going to have Mark all week, so, I think it'll probably be a little more simple maybe to start off, but he's going to get a whole lot of work, and I've seen his work ethic already. He's one of the first in the building and one of the last to leave, and, he wants to win bad, and he wants to get it done for us.
Well, fans, do not give up all of a sudden because the team has lost a lot of players. They've lost a couple of games, but at the same time, one thing we do know, they're not out of the playoffs. There's a lot of teams in the same situation as they are, so therefore what they have to do is tend to business. And one thing my panel would tell you, Mike, Gary, and Donna, that these guys should know that if they're going into play, they have to be ready because they're getting paid on Monday like their first string. Am I right, guys? We can't talk about the injuries. We can't talk about who's gone. We can talk about who's here and what the Washington Redskins need to do. When they got a guy like Adrian Peterson, 9 carries for 98 yards and won a 90-yard touchdown like that, they need to lean on that. So how can they do that, guys?
Well, that's interesting. You should say that, Tony. And Donna was actually at the game. She's only had 2 hours sleep, got all the sound bites in the locker room. They did not run that 90-yard running play a second time in the game, Tony.
It's kind of sad, Tony, though, that you said he had 98 yards and 90 of those were that long run. So he just really had 8 yards outside of that. And then Chris Thompson was back. So I got on the defense a lot last week. But this week I'm going to get on everybody, starting with the offense, Tony, because Colt McCoy goes down and then Mark Sanchez comes in. But the thing about it is that they had 2 first downs in the second half. They're trying trick plays. When they have to go to trick plays to end up winning a game, that's just crazy to me. And some of the play calling and everything was really messed up. And now they have to get Sanchez in here to get him coordinated to run this team down. And I just don't see this offense getting any better.
Well, you know what, Don, I think you're kind of harsh on them for one simple reason. They did lose that quarterback, second quarterback within 2 to 3 weeks. And at the same time, Sanchez has only been in there for 19 days, I think it is. And what you have to realize with that is he doesn't have the playbook yet. So they had to do some trick plays. So, Gary, what do you think? I still think, as Donna said, though, they should have relied on the run a little more. As she said, he had 90 yards on 1 carry. And he had 8 yards on 8 more carries. So what can they do to correct this? How can they get him started early?
Quite honest, Tony, I think it really comes down, like I said, the following week, preparation and effort. I'm not saying the effort that a team that wants to go into the playoff, a team that wants to win the division should have. I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing when people break from the defensive standpoint. Somebody breaks, I don't see the effort. From the offensive standpoint, I'm so tired of hearing injuries.
Thank you.
Don't give me I understand that's part of it. You want your best players who you feel gives you the best chance of winning. But sometimes it's football. People are going to get hurt. People get injured every year. So at some point in time, you got to quit saying the injuries. Let me find players who can step up and play when they're called upon. That's what every great football team has, because every great football team has injuries throughout the course of the year.
Tony, can I also throw out this? The problem with the offense, too, is the mistakes, the penalties. And these are coming from some of the starting linemen, like Trent Williams, 2 penalties, key penalties. And that's, like Gary said, that has nothing to do with the injuries. That comes into the discipline part of them with all these penalties that's hurting them week after week.
One really interesting tidbit, and I know you got to go, Tony, is if you recall, and Tony, you remember this, Mark Sanchez was going to be drafted, and he was very highly prized. And the Vinny Serrato and Dan Snyder brought him into town. They all had dinner here in Washington. And Dan and Vinny were thinking of every way possible to move up into the draft to be able to take Mark Sanchez because they prized him so highly. They were unable to draft him, and ironically, here he is starting for the Washington Redskins all these years later. I just think that's quite a story.
Yeah. The only good story in it is he's getting hurt here again, like he was going to get hurt there. That's the only thing that considers me with Mark is he has propensity to get hurt. And you saw even on Monday night, it was an opportunity for him to get hurt there. I think what Gary said is exactly right. If you are going to be one of the players selected, and this goes back to training camp and everything, you don't select who you like, you select who you need. Because when you have the time and somebody get hurt that they have to go up and play, you want to make sure you got players that can play. And that's what you see right now.
Good point.
I think if they get acclimated and choose one thing to do, don't do the trick plays, don't try to throw downfield and then try to run one time. You got to establish something in the beginning of the game. And that's what I'm not seeing. Donna, you was there, and we got about 30 seconds. Tell me, what kind of pattern did you see with this offense? Did you see that they were going to be strong, or even before Colt got hurt? What did you see?
Well, Tony, the thing about it is that they were starting to move down. The game was close. I mean, 13-14. And I think that they had opportunities that they could have scored more points. But then after McCoy went down, it's just almost like they were disarray for a little bit. But I think Gary said something, that Sanchez did not play bad and everything. But I thought that if they would have stuck with the run, I think that they could have been in this game and could have possibly pulled it out. But it's almost like when he went down, it's almost like the team fell apart. And you could see the energy just zapped out of them at one point.
Well, you know, Donna, that's a great point. When we come back, we're not talking about the energy that was sapped out of offense. By the offense not performing, it put the defense in a bad place as well. When we come back, we'll talk a little defense.
Man, he pours so much into a season from the beginning, to the end, and get out to a good footing. Now these lulls starting to come, and you can't get over them, man. It's just like one thing after another. It's tough. It really is tough.
Well, welcome back. And I tell you what, before we put the offense to bed, we still have to say, have you ever, Michael, seen a running back, 33 years old, outrun defensive backs and everyone 90-yard touchdown?
I'm really glad you brought that up, Tony. If I wanted to see one thing in this season, I would want to see AP sign for next year right now. that if you think about where this team would be without Adrian Peterson, it would be a sorry, sorry day. I'd love to see this week them sign him to a 2-year contract and pay him well, because we don't know what Geis is going to do next year. He's coming back from his second knee surgery on the same knee, and AP has been an inspiration to this team and this club, and quite honestly, sign him this week. Make my day. Let me ask you one quick question. Every now and then, Television Shop will get a little story that's unsaid. Adrian Peterson came off the field after one of those errant running plays, and he went right up to Jay Gruden and in his face, in a nice way, and talked to him for a second. Jay looked a little, looked off to the side after that. Was basically AP saying, give me the doggone ball. What do you think?
I think, and I saw the same thing that you did. As a matter of fact, it was after the second series, I think, and he went up to him, and they had stopped him pretty good. And at the same time, he did go right over to the head coach and told him something. I think he would tell him, we can run on these guys. And I think that's what you have to do. You saying sign Adrian, it's better to sign him and use him. It's better to utilize him a little bit more this year. I think we'd even have a different outcome as we've had. Yeah. With that being said, when you use him more, that helps the defense. Now, I know a lot of people are thinking the defense has gone south. But what is happening, they're on the field quite a bit. When your offense is going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and that's no excuse, because if they're on there, they still should stop the individuals, which they're not. But right now, guys, somebody tell me, do you not think that the inconsistency of the offense is also hurting the defense at some point?
Well, Tony, maybe a little bit, because Ioannidis has been out, and then Allen and Payne. So when those three guys was in, they did do a better job of stuffing the run. And since he's been gone, this defense has given up over 900 and some yards per game. But I'm not even going to use that as an excuse, Tony, because
wait, down to 900 per game.
I'm sorry, 400 and some,
okay,
400 and some yards. Well, it's 900 and some if you add it up over
the
5
games,
Tony. But the problem I have with the defense is the pick plays. Since the Colts game, they have been picking the Redskins. It's almost like a basketball move. When you see a pick coming, they said get around it or call it out. And the Redskins, since that Colts game, cannot pick up the pick. They are picking them to death. And this is not improving, Tony. And like Gary talked about the effort out there, the effort's not there. DJ Swearinger called out everybody. He called out the players, the coaches, the personnel in general, that everybody has to take accountability for the way this team is playing right now.
Could I ask you?
Well, sometimes before you call out everybody, you got to look at the man in the mirror too, because instead of calling out everybody, and that's good at some point in time. You take Gary for instance. Whenever he had a bad play or something, he didn't go call out everybody. He wouldn't jumped on the coach.
But Tony, what's going on with the picking? What's going on with the picking, and why
well, you
they
know
can't
what?
correct
That happened to me, Donna, and this is a quick story. I know we don't have a lot of time, but the one time that they allowed me to try to cover a back in a football game during my NFL career, and guess who it was? O.J. Simpson. And I could get with him, but I just never knew they would have the wide receiver come out there in my path, and I couldn't make a decision whether to go in front or back. You see that in basketball, now you're seeing it in football. The pick play is a hard play, and it's derived to throw that person that's off this covering. So you have to work on which way you're going to go and where you can get the most help and try to go inside. But most times they say it's better to go in front of the player than back. But if he's there, you have no alternative.
Can I ask you guys a question? You all watch the game, and it seems to me that Clinton Dix seems to be playing out of position at times, and that the corner slot doesn't seem to be able to cover anything out of the backfield. What's going on? Since came, there seems to be more disarray in the secondary, Tony.
Well, that's just like Sanchez. Doesn't know the defense as well as other players, and you're putting players and you're plugging them in where you need them, not where they're normally playing. So at the same time, he has to learn and maybe learn somewhat of a new position, and that's happening all over the field. But that's only an excuse. They brought him here to make it happen, and that's what he's going to have to do. The whole team is going to have to do that for the rest of the year. We can't keep talking about injury. We can't keep talking about new plays. We got to talk about what's in front of us. Right now, they are 6-6. Luckily, there are a lot of teams like that. So what I'm saying right now is don't worry about the pass. Get your quarterback up get your other players up, and you go out and play. But establish something. And I'm for the component of bringing that running game 25 to 30 times a game. And now when we get back, we'll talk a little bit about special teams. They need to bring more to the table to me. I know you say Hopkins is doing well and everything, but they need some big plays. So we come back. Why the special teams aren't special right now?
Geico makes it so easy to manage my policy. With an app that lets me pay my bill, add a vehicle, or even file a claim, it's not just easy. It's aerobics in a recliner easy.
And plank. Smooth it. Shimmy. Woo. And step, step, swivel. Keep it going. Kick, hold. Kick it out and kick, and kick.
It's not just easy, it's Geico easy.
Feel the bird.
Well, when we come back, we're talking about special teams. And one thing the special teams need to do is be an important facet of the team. Right now, guys, you tell me, I think they're covering okay, but no spectacular plays. Need them right now, especially with your quarterbacks out, your running game suffering, your defense is getting hammered. You need something from the special teams. What can they do?
Trey Quinn.
Going against the Giants, the team is starting to get a little bit better and got some wide receivers that can be terrible or tough for us. What can the special team do to help us change the position of the field?
Hopefully Trey Quinn will be back this week, Tony, because he had that 30-yard punt return last week. So his injury is not all that devastating. So I think Trey Quinn will be back. He really helped your punt return game. And I think Tress Way, again, against Philly, 2 inside the 20. Boy, he pinned him back twice. So you've got some good special teams players, Tony.
Well, Tressway, I'm getting on him this week too, because I think that he struggled in that Eagles game because he had some short punts that gave the Eagles good field position. So I think that all three phases of that team struggle against the Eagles. And Tressway, that has been kind of like on target for most of the season, not so much in the Eagles game.
But you know what? Now I know they've changed the line the line of scrimmage where you kick off and everything, and maybe that's impeding the returns and everything. But I see other teams getting players and getting big returns and helping their offense. Why have this not happened for the Washington Redskins?
Well, I mean, it's been an ongoing problem since Gary Clark. When Gary Clark was returning punts initially. I mean, we've had a couple guys along the way, but it's never been.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, at some point in time, you have to find something in the chemistry that allows you to work. So on special teams, we need something that's game changing. It can be a great defensive stop on special teams, or it could be somebody, breaking a game, scoring a touchdown, getting a 60-yard kickoff return or punt return. Something that allows you to have momentum to start going and shift into your direction. And a lot of times, special teams can help that. Right now, they're not playing bad, but they're not playing great either. Right now they're kind of good. And at some point in time, all segments have to play great. And right now, special teams are playing good.
And really, don't you depend, though, on your segments when you have one or two segments that's struggling? You're looking for that third one to kind of pick them up. Yep. And that's what this team needs. You don't have a team full of superstars like the Washington Redskins have had in the past on offense and defense. You got people kind of sprinkled in that can be really good, but they're not consistent every week. So now what you need is for all three facets of your team to play the same each week. What I'm saying there, running game, run the ball, passing game, catch the ball, defense, stop the run, and get some pass rush, which now another thing on Monday, I didn't see a great pass rush from the Washington Redskins either.
No, and you know what, Tony? They are going to play a surging Giants team that is really, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3 games, could be in the running right now for the playoffs. But they got a running game, and I'm telling you, and they actually, when you're talking special teams, they have a kick return game too. This is not going to be an easy game.
You know, Tony, what I think is also is, you know, everybody the fans buy their jerseys. You know, different players, the fans buy their jersey, quote unquote, they're your superstars of that specific team. Those guys have to step up and become a superstar at some point in time for the game. You have to step up and be that guy that everybody expects you to be. And every team has those people that they go out, they buy their jerseys. Those are the people that are the game players, that makes the play. Yeah. So now we're in a situation right now where we have to make the run for the playoffs. You know,
and you're right. You're right, G, and this is very important. And you just said everyone has to step up and be that person if you can be that person. When we come back, we'll talk about the league right now. What does the Washington Redskins need to do to get in the playoff? It's going to be tough, but it's doable. We'll be back in a moment.
And now New Faces with Adam Batacci.
Welcome to New Faces. In this week's segment, we talk about Mr. Irrelevant of the 2018 NFL Draft, Redskins wide receiver Trey Quinn. Originally from Lake Charles, Louisiana, Quinn threw a no-hitter in the 2008 Little League World Series. Look for him to be featured pretty frequently as the season winds down in the Redskins offense.
Once I started looking for car insurance, it was a no-brainer. I switched to Geico and saved hundreds. That's a win. But it's not the only reason I switched. The Geico app makes it easy to manage my policy. I can pay my bill, add a new driver, or even file a claim. Woo! Hey now, that's a win-win. Thank you.
Switch to Geico. It's a win-win.
Hey, sports fans, 2-time Super Bowl champion Gary Clark and Pacific Dental Services have joined up to bring Redskin fans a chance to win free NFL Legend experiences. Go to www.garyclarkinc.com/fans to register for a chance to win. Good luck.
Welcome to the Sports Bar Challenge. In this week's game, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Oakland to play the Raiders at 425. Crystal City Restaurant likes the Steelers. Crystal City Sports Pub likes the Steelers. Greavy's likes the Steelers. Hard Times Cafe of Fairfax likes the Steelers. Harry's Ale House in Fredericksburg likes the Steelers. And Nando's Peri Peri Chicken likes the Steelers. Look for this to be a high-scoring game between two very potent offenses, but pick the Steelers on the road. I like Pittsburgh by 10+ points.
This week on What's Bugging You in the NFL segment, we have Kendall Splon of Compass Real Estate. Now, what's bugging her is definitely bugging me what she says. Let's see what Kendall has to say.
Okay, what's bugging me with the NFL right now is nothing, because Cowboys are #1 in our division and we're going to take it home. So that's what's not bugging me in the NFL right now.
It is through our darkest moments that we must focus to see the light again. I would love for you to pick up my book, Getting to the Other Side of Victory. If not for yourself, a loved one, or a friend, pick it up for someone that's going through a tough time. You can purchase it on both Amazon and Barnes & Noble in both paperback or ebook. For my autographed copy, go to my website at www.donnajhopkins.com and help someone get to the other side of victory. At 7-5, the Baltimore Ravens will take to the road to play the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, this is an important game for Baltimore because they're one game behind the Steelers in that division. Now, since taking over for Joe Flacco, Lamar Jackson has really played well. He adds a different dimension to that game. But they're playing the Kansas City Chiefs. They've got all kind of weapons. And one player in particular, Mahomes. He can do so many things to destroy a defense. But, of course, I'm going with Kansas City. Pick them.
Now we have New Orleans traveling to Tampa. Typically, I go for the home team. But New Orleans going to Tampa, come on, guys. You know who's going to win this game. New Orleans walks away with the win. You got to go with New Orleans.
Tony, in the picks this week, you were 29-24, Donna 31-32, Gary 27-26, I'm 32-21. And Baltimore, Kansas City, everybody's picking KC. New Orleans at Tampa Bay, everybody's picking New Orleans. Philadelphia, Dallas, only I and Donna are picking Dallas. No, Tony got Dallas too. Can't believe you did that, Tony. LA Rams at Chicago. Let's see. Gary, you're the only one picking Chicago. And Indianapolis at Houston. Everybody is, no, Tony's picking Indy. Tony, everybody else is picking Houston. Let me ask you a question, Tony. Believe it or not, Eli Manning is having his best year completion percentage-wise. Who'd have believed it with that offensive line woes that they had earlier in the year? But they're giving him more time to throw. Barkley's now a force. Their receivers are really showing up. This is a tough task come Sunday, isn't it?
Well, you know, you look at their record and you say, oh, they've lost 8 games. They're not in the playoffs anymore. But this team matches up well with the Washington Redskins, where they have their strengths, which is wide receiver. The Washington Redskins have to be able to cover them. Where Manning is having a good year, they have to get to him, pressure him early. But the one thing I'm really scared of is Barkley. They're running the ball so good. Now, maybe they did play bad in the beginning, but right now they're a matchup headache for the Washington Redskins. They have to come out and play this game, guys, and you know it's not going to be easy.
No, Tony, because this team right now for the Redskins, they're on life support. They're in a must-win situation. And if they don't come out with better effort than we saw in these last few weeks, this is not going to be a pretty ending. Effort. They have to have that.
Well, G, do you think that they can cover back him? I mean, not many people have been able to cover him. Can the Washington Redskins cover him? Can we get Josh on him and maybe one-on-one and get a good day from him?
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, when Josh is playing at his best, he can cover anybody in the league. That's 100%. We just have to hope that he plays his best. When he's at his best, he can cover any player in the league in NFL history. But if he's not playing at his best, as we've seen lately, then it can go backwards and forwards. Hopefully he's playing at his best.
You know, Tony, they're talking about a possible snowstorm this weekend. When these two teams met earlier in the year, AP outrushed Barkley. AP loves nasty weather. He loves to get the ball and run in nasty weather. If it's a bad day and it's a sloppy field, you never know. AP may have 150 yards.
They better be able to pick up those
they got to
kicks.
give him the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tony.
To get 150 yards. He can't get 150 over there on the bench. I mean, you know.
Well, why can't you bring Chris Thompson and maybe put him in a slot so you have AP and Chris Thompson on the field at the same time? That would be a big matchup headache, I would think.
I think you should always have your playmakers on the field. I mean, I agree.
Exactly.
You can figure out a way. The key is always to figure out a way to get the ball to your weapons. And once you do that, whether you're running the ball, whether you're passing the ball, you get the ball in the hands of your weapon. Those are your all-purpose guys. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was an all-purpose guy. Just get me the ball. I'll do the rest at the end of the day. So get the ball to AP. Get the ball to our guys that make plays, and they'll make plays.
Yeah. Because of the ribs, everybody knows that Chris Thompson's not going to run the ball, Tony. It's going to be a little screen pass or something like that, so you just key on that. But if you bring AP in and you have Chris Thompson in the game at the same time, figure out a way, as Gary said, then you got a force there.
Okay, guys, we got about 30 seconds. Mike, what do they need to do to beat the New York Giants?
They got to run the ball. I agree with you, Tony.
G.
I just want to win. I don't care what we got to do. Win. Steal your grandmother's purse. I don't care. We got to win a football game. Jeez.
I think, Tony, it comes back again. I say this each week. All three faces of this team, they really have to show up.
And what I'm going to just say is, everybody, you're saying exactly what's true, but this team need to know you're not out of the playoffs. You still have opportunity, and now is when the nitty-gritty gets going. You can't just back up and you can't use excuses. Go out and play. And my tip to them this week is, as you walk off the field as a loser one week, think about how you'll feel if you're winning the next week and you're still in the playoff hunt. So guys, get ready to do that. Next week when we come back, hopefully we'll be talking about another win in the middle.